Let's start out with Javier, who called in from Puerto Rico. They were our first caller today, and let's see. It says many laws are the results of legislating one's own personal morality. I don't know. Let's see the take on it. Javier, you're live with Eric and V.
Hey there, guys. How's it going?
Doing really well, considering. So I'm having trouble understanding what exactly it is you wanted to ask or talk about. Could you give us a little more information?
Oh, sure, definitely. But this is Javier from South Carolina, and before that from Miami too, by the way. First call from my homeland.
Nice.
Okay.
Very cool. Okay, so what do you got?
So, so in terms of the topic, what I mean is, in discussions that I've heard about church-state separation, and by the way, I'm very much in favor of church-state separation. But in discussions on the topic that I've heard, I've heard people say you shouldn't be trying to put forth laws based on your personal religious morality. Big example, insert demographic that used to not be able to be legally married here. We all know that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And of course I see that point. I don't think that everyone should I'm sorry, I got to organize my thoughts today.
No, that's okay. If you'd like a little bit of help, I can pick up from here.
I think I can finish. It's just
sure.
Man, it's my first call in a while. I'm getting a little flustered.
Oh,
no worries. We're good.
Yeah. All right. So but you got laws, for example, let's see, keep it advertiser friendly. A crime that rhymes with girder, I mean, that is bad, and that is against the law, and it's because most people generally agree that something like that is wrong. It's immoral, it's unethical.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that many laws are the case where people are taking something they view as morally objectionable and making it illegal, or taking something they view as morally virtuous
mm-hmm.
and making a legal provision for it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So here's kind of where I stand with it. I don't think it has to do with personal morals, and I would like to draw a couple of kind of dividing lines here. The first is, I think it is just a fact of reality that laws are a society codifying what they believe is moral or ethical. And so you can learn a lot about a society by studying their laws. And it changes over time. And so I think the fact that it changes over time definitely underscores the fact that, morals and ethics change as people change. There was a time when slavery was legal in the United States, and there was a time when slavery was legal in most other places in the world. And that is kind of, we're no longer as a society there. And so it changes. But the idea that there's an alternative kind of blows my mind, because what would an alternative look like? Like if I found a bunch of rules that were just kind of inscribed in the side of a mountain, would those rules be more legitimate?
Well, I guess if you're talking to a fundamentalist, they would probably say yes, but I don't think so.
Yeah, so I think that the downside to legislating religious beliefs, or legislating a holy book as the source of laws, is that over time that society cannot change. It kind of becomes stuck in the morality of whatever time that book was written. And so I feel like it would become an impediment to us moving forward. That said, it doesn't really have to do with, you shouldn't do it based on your personal opinion. I think that it has just a lot to do with what the society writ large decides.
I see your point, and but what I would say is that society at large, there's people with different demographics. Of course, some of those demographics are religious demographics,
mm-hmm.
and even though these people may be deriving their morality from their religious text, that doesn't change the fact that it is the morality that they hold, and they are gonna vote based on that morality that they hold, no matter where it came from.
Well, but the thing is, I think you said it exactly right. They may claim that they're deriving their morality from their religious text, but the fact is, most often it's ass backwards. It's looking to a religious text to try and justify things that you already think are moral. You know, finding a validation for something that may be otherwise viewed as awful, right? You are you know, if somebody is homophobic and, you know, can point to verses in the Bible that appear homophobic, then they can say, see, my opinion is validated through the Bible, and it provides this kind of leverage for bigotry that I think you wouldn't get if you hadn't raised that holy book to this level of importance.
I see that. I'm sorry. Were you going to say something?
Oh, I was going to continue, but I also want to give you the chance to say something as well, because I don't want to just railroad you here.
Okay, then. Thank you. So the thing, yeah, I definitely agree with the thing about people that may hold a discriminatory view, may derive it from their religious text, and they're just using that to validate or justify it. But I also think there's the aspect of because they're validating it via the religious text, that means they already hold that view.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, present or absent that text, they would just try to find some other sort of justification for it.
Right. And if you can remove that, that, I think I don't want to beat a dead horse on that one. But what I do want to say is that if you have a large demographic of religious folks in a population, then they are going to influence the laws. That is because that society is being influenced by that demographic. And so if it is being reflected in the laws, it's because that demographic is there. And because, you know, like, I don't want to say that there's not going to be, or there can't be religious influence, because as long as there are religious people in a society, there will be that influence. We just need to be watchful and make sure that we don't have overreach into someone's religious viewpoints, taking away the rights or privileges of other people because of, you know, their own bigotry.
Yes, I see your point, and I agree. You know, I am it would be amusing if it wasn't so horrible. My mother in particular, she does have quite a bit of homophobia, and she gets mad that I don't. And I know that her homophobia is religiously inspired. You know, thou shalt not lie, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I don't want this sort of thing to bleed into the laws, but I don't know, I'm more of a live and let live, you know, you do you kind of guy in general. So that sort of thing never gelled well with me. Mm-hmm. And that's why another reason I said that I am in favor of something like church-state separation. I just a theocracy is basically a worst-case scenario, one of the worst-case scenarios in my view. But at the same time, I also recognize that people will vote their values, their morality, no matter where they come from.
I think we're talking about two different things, though, and I'm sorry to jump in at the last minute here and completely turn this horse around, but I found it very interesting to live in the world where laws are dictated by what people think are moral. That's an interesting viewpoint. I disagree with it. I think that laws are about power, and I think that morality has nothing to do with it 99% of the time. And
really,
yeah, law is not moral. Law can be backed up by morality if you're trying to justify its existence, but parking on the side of the street after 5 p.m. isn't a moral thing. You know,
that's fair.
The majority of laws are to maintain power. And the people who get to make the laws are the ones who get to decide where that power goes and where that power stays. And the fact that so many of these laws are get aroundable by paying a fine, right? Like if you think about, let's say we're speeding ticket, right? Mm-hmm. Sure, don't endanger other people. I guess that could be a moral argument for not speeding, but the reason that speeding tickets exist is to give people excuses to pull people over for other things a lot of the time. And if you get out of it, you can either use a privilege that has nothing to do with morality, or you can pay a fine, which has nothing to do with morality, and then be like, okay, you're good now. You paid us the $50 and got us our quota so we can, go to the police ball or whatever.
What a pessimistic view of things.
It's deeply pessimistic, but it has nothing to do with morality 99% of the time, outside of upholding it for the average person who does indeed vote their values. So Javier, I think you're absolutely right. The average person is given that argument. Hey, this is a moral thing to do. You should do that thing. And they buy it, but that's not the reason the laws exist. The laws don't legislate morality. The laws legislate people.
I don't know about that. Like I can see the point that you're making, but I think that while I'm willing to grant that what I said is overly simplistic, I would grant that yours is as well.
Well, everything we are going to say about this topic, I think, is going to be overly simplistic.
Fair enough.
Due to our limited understanding.
Here's my piece there, right? Yeah. So if we look at jails, right? Uh-huh. And we go, okay, punishing people by putting them in jail, it does not have the impact that we want it to have. It turns out that rehabilitating people and giving them skill sets.
Oh, no. Oh, are we going down this route? Wait, where are you going with this? Please tell me.
Well, let me finish and I'll tell you.
Yes,
yeah? Okay. So a model that seeks to give people skills and work with them has been seen to have better long-term effects on whether or not those people are going to commit those crimes again, right?
Okay.
So if you look at our punitive legal system and say jails are awful and we should not have them, or it essentially they're doing it wrong, but that doesn't mean that what they're doing is for bad reasons. They're just their execution is awful, right?
See, I think
that
no. Like prisons, like the prison industrial complex, where private prisons buy prisoners.
Right? Oh my God, bad execution.
No, it's
right?
not bad execution. It's perfect execution. It's doing exactly what they want.
Who the fuck is they, V?
Do you know how much of our economy runs on prison labor? And why there is so much pushback against rehabilitation? Because they are making the same exact arguments they made to preserve slavery.
Okay.
Our towns, our states could not run without prison labor.
Javier, look what you started, by the way.
Yeah. Sorry, Javier. This is way off topic.
No. It's okay. We're picking this up. V, are you making a case then that someone getting arrested or being pulled out of a population because they're a danger to themselves or others is somehow bad?
I'm saying that the majority of people in prison are not there for violent crime.
Oh, good. I'll agree with you on that. Right. That's not my question. Would you like me to ask it again?
Oh, wow. You're spicy today.
I am because I feel like you hand waved away the baby with the bathwater.
I'm not saying that for I don't want to get into the specifics because I don't know enough about it, frankly. But there is the way that we legislate laws, the people who feel the brunt of that, and the way the prison system is set up is not, oops, we can get people to the moon, but I guess we can't figure out how to get people to not, smoke marijuana anymore. The goal is what is currently happening. This is the goal for the majority, not maybe for the individual security guard who thinks they're doing a good job or who might be a kind person or, whatever. I'm not saying every individual is in on it, but I'm saying that the system is created specifically for this reason. It's not, oopsie, I guess that's bad, but we're not going to do anything about it. It's, oh yes, we now get free labor from people who happen to be mostly people of color imprisoned for nonviolent crimes.
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's a stretch to say that that's intentional.
So that I agree. And that is not the point that I'm making. That's not the question that I asked.
Okay, what is your question?
Okay, so
Okay, hold on.
in order to
Javier is still on the line.
Yes, Javier. I think we want to pick this up. Is there anything else you wanted to add in before we kind of argue with each other for a little bit?
Sure.
What's up?
Just that, I'm a little surprised. Normally, I hold back my cynicism and pessimism. I guess you could call it a black-pilled mentality about the system we have, criminal justice, legislative, political in general. I typically hold it back because most people aren't very too keen on it. But it seems that V and I agree on a lot, and I don't have to hold it back necessarily. I have no faith in this system. I think the system is crumbling and it's bad, and I don't like it.
Yep.
I agree
I'm glad you feel
with you.
seen, Javier.
I agree with you, but if it sounds like you're unwilling to grant, I'm talking to V on this one. It seems like you're unwilling to grant the point that I'm trying to make. And if that's the case, then I'm not even moving forward.
I would be very happy to hear the point again now that we have established that that's not what you're talking about.
I said that several times. Okay, so let me use an analogous situation to try and help point this out, okay?
Okay.
So would you agree that religious institutions prop up and have been used as a tool to continue a patriarchal kind of reign over Western society?
Yeah, sure.
You know, that's why it was made. That's the goal of it, right? Was the goal of it to prop up patriarchy? I mean, you can't say that wasn't on purpose, V.
I mean, it was one of the goals. Sure, yeah.
Okay. So
I'm not saying every pastor who goes to a pulpit has that goal.
No,
but I'm saying that the reason the system works the way it does is with intention.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing.
Okay.
I'm being overly simplistic by saying that is the entire reason it's there, is to prop up patriarchy. There is no other reason, right? Like, it's just that.
I'm very confused. Where are we going with this?
Sure. So when I talk about societies and laws and legislating morality, which is what I think the best version of a society would do, your only points are all of the shitty things that are going on in the United States. I agree with you. That's not the point that I made. The point that I made, that I'm trying to make, is that societies, you can learn a lot about a society by taking a look at what they are legislating, because what people ideally would be voting for or would be creating would be a codification of what they would view as moral or ethical.
On the individual level, yes.
And no, on the broad strokes level. On the individual level, no. On the individual level, I agree with you. On the individual level in the United States, you have all of these problems. You have the prison industrial complex, right? That would be on the individual level. And so your objections, I totally understand, but it sounded like your objections were trying to nullify or to be in conflict with the first point that I was making, and that is that societies ideally would be creating laws to codify their moral or ethical, opinions.
Yeah, and see, I just don't think that that's the function that laws serve. And I think that as soon as you get into the realm of legislating morality, you get into the realm of overreach. Like, if that's what your goal is, to legislate somebody else's morality, you've overreached. That's an overstep. And the goal is to...
Now, this is Javier's call.
Right.
This is Javier's call. Okay, so you're taking the opinion that legislating morality is overreach. So what is there left to legislate?
Practical shit. If you want to legislate,
okay,
don't park here.
Well, no. Let's start with murder, right? Do you think that's amoral?
But it's very practical to not have people murder each other.
Oh, so it's practical, but it doesn't have anything to do with morality.
Well, it also happens to have a moral context, sure, but that's not what is instigating the law. But I'm not legislating all the things I think are immoral. I'm legislating the things that I think practically would make society very difficult to live in.
I don't know if I can get on board with the amoral, like that doesn't feel like that matches up with the world that we see around us.
Right, because it's sold to us as morality. We are consumers of the ideology of the law that is of the place we live, and it has been presented to us as moral things. This is moral. Follow the law. Be a good citizen. What all of this shit. And the reason that we tie it so intrinsically is because of that rhetoric. And I'm not saying that the people who are telling us to be good citizens are intentional about all of this, but that is what's happening. That's why it's difficult to parse those apart. But if you're going to say, don't park on this street at this time because it needs to be cleaned, that's not a moral argument. There's nothing moral there. That's a law that's practical that can then be enforced. But like to argue about law from the standpoint of morality, I think is granting too much ground to the people who are making the laws and assuming too much about them, that they are making it because they really feel deep in their little hearts that it's good and right, as opposed to, hey, if you can pay your way out of this, then the law doesn't apply to you.
I don't think that's an opposed to. I think that is a sniping at something that should be sniped at that doesn't touch on the larger point. All it does is distract from the larger point.
Well, my point is that...
No, I got your point. I even conceded your point. I granted you entirely. I mean, I can give you more affirmations, but I agree.
Oh my God. I think we may need to take a time out. You need to stand in a corner for like 5 minutes.
I agree with you.
I'm saying that based on Javier's call, the argument that I am understanding is, how are we telling religious people that they cannot legislate their morals when what we are doing all of the time is legislating our morals? It's a double standard that we say you can't do that, but we can. And the way to get out of that double standard and to avoid that argument, because I don't think it's a good one when said in good faith, is it's not about morals. It's about power. And we need to make sure that one person is not legislating someone else's morality. That should never be the case. Not with a secular government, not with a religious one. It's not a double standard, because the argument that law and morality are somehow the same thing is wrong. So that's where I've been coming from this whole time. I think we should probably move on, because Javier has been so deeply patient with us.
Yeah, Javier. Yeah, we've been arguing in front of you. Javier, we appreciate your call. This has been fun.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this. This has been plenty fun.
Thank you for calling in. You definitely got some hackles up.
You did. Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
And I'm sure people in the comments, oh, they're breaking up. No, we love this stuff.
Oh my gosh.